Welcome back to Big Up, where today we are going to review the latest Philip D. Kick. I always do that, which is a play on Philip K. Dick. So Philip D. Kick is Ohm Unit, the producer that many of you have probably heard of and know. This is on Astrophonica. As you can see, the art is made to look like a Nike shoe on a sheet of acid. You can see that real close. Very cool art. Astrophonica has always done the kind of hand press sleeves. Very, very good one. So inside, standard Astrophonica center. And then on the back with the labels of the tune. So let's talk about the music. So I've said that 4 times. Philip D. Kick is Ohm Unit typically as being really more experimental with juke and footwork, really focusing on juke and footwork. Hasn't done a ton of releases under this moniker, and most of them have come out either on as white labels or as on Astrophonica. Probably released like 1 record a year under this moniker. I'm a huge fan of Astrophonica records, and I'm a huge fan of Ohm Unit, so this is right up my alley, so don't expect me to slag on it too much, because I think this record's pretty great. The first tune starts out with drips. It's got a real loose mid bass. It sounds real big and not overly produced. Just kind of like if you had a big tube of air and you were pushing bass waves through it. That's kind of what it sounds like. It's got some, the bass is so funky and weird in the synth way, like a sound design way, that you could see it compared to a lot of modern day jump up tunes, the stuff like Bow or Serum or Blade Runner are doing. But it's got like fresh and really groovy juke and jungle 160 breaks under it that give it a lot of life. It seriously doesn't sound like a sampled break, which is great. Like it definitely Grooverider knows how to find that vibe where it doesn't feel overly drum pattern. Feels like it was chopped up and cut up real quick and just meant to get you on the dance floor. I love that. The next tune is 160909313. No idea what those numbers mean, but this one is a little bit harder to put into a genre. It's a little bit 4/4, but it's kind of at the 165, might even be as low as 150 beats, and it takes a lot from techno, and this is what Ohm Unit does with this moniker, the Philip D. Kick, is he's kind of taking juke and he's putting in a 4/4 beat and kind of mixing in mixing in new sounds into that. While this one isn't one that I would end up DJing a lot, this is something that is in playlists where I will listen to this, and it always is a welcome kind of break for something new and different when in my drum and bass playlist, because it is like made to be a drum and bass tune, but it is also does not fit easily into drum and bass or dubstep or trap or juke or any of that stuff. Funk 160 is kind of where I think this EP becomes the most interesting as far as a musical artifact. This is like if Ohm Unit took the electro music that was being made in the early 80s, and he decided to pretend he was LTJ Bookham. It's got funky, like, breakdance electro break, but it's soft and atmospheric in a way that you would expect LTJ Bookham to have produced it. Like, if LTJ had a backwards Kangol and some cardboard out to dance on, I would not be surprised. Summer Moods, once again, kind of going into that atmospheric drum and bass, but this is like a more jukey take on it than even the 160 tune, like real juke stuttered hits, stuttered breaks, not always like a fully structured beat. Very, very good. Another one that this one would end up on like a nice atmospheric mix, but is a good one for the headphones. And then last we have the Riviera, which is another take of it. That one's a little bit more drum and bassy, but once again, kind of good looking records with a juke influence, footwork influence. None of these tunes I dislike at all. Like, I love this EP. I think it's a solid EP. It's really varied in its sound, and it's kind of giving you some real experimental stuff, especially on the very last tune, which is like a 4/4 deep house style, but at 160, I think, called Clouds. It's got like a lead synth that just kind of plunks along. Sounds very much like your stereotypical deep house. So obviously, Ohm Unit is pulling in so many influences from other genres and experimenting with it, and I love that. And I love the fact that Astrophonica is doing that. It continues to release this stuff. They released the Turbo release last year, which was crazy heavily techno influenced, and the Client __ release that was the same way. Astrophonica to me remains a buy on site. Like, I don't care. The drum and bass is good. The weird stuff is good. It's worth picking up. If you want to check this out, their Spotify and Discogs links are in the below. If you want to grab the vinyl, it's not selling for too much. A lot of stuff on Astrophonica shoots up in price after a couple months of release, so I'd recommend jumping on that as soon as possible if this is what you're into. Anyways, like, subscribe, let me know what you think of these videos. Thanks.